Hey folks, welcome to another episode of 5 to 15 with Musickers. I'm your host, Jason DeCristofaro, and I'm thrilled to be here with pianist Dr. Bob Strain. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Bob, you've had a really versatile career as a pianist. I think you've played just about every style as a pianist that there is under the sun. How did you get your start playing piano, and what were some of the first piano gigs that you did?
Well, I officially started lessons when I was 8, and my first actual gig was playing gospel piano at the age of 12 in a Pentecostal church in Texas. And they didn't pay, but I got a lot of experience out of that. My first paying gig was when I was 15. I played in a Dixieland band in a bar. We're not supposed to know that because I was 15, but we did that, and then the bar also showed silent movies in between the band sets. So I played Dixieland with the band, and then I did silent movie music on the piano, solo piano, stride and ragtime type stuff for the films, which were comedies mostly. And that was that when.
How much of when you were doing the music for the silent movies, how much of that was music you were reading from sheet music, and how much of it was improvised?
Oh, it's all improvised.
Oh, cool.
Or it was stuff that I'd learned previously and had kind of taken liberties with. I wasn't reading music at that point. I had a good ear, and I developed that, I think, early on with piano. I had a good piano teacher, and she was really big on me learning interval relationships and all. So I got it pretty early that I could hear what was happening in melody without being at a keyboard. I guess the next thing was I was a musician in the Navy and played percussion when I wasn't sitting at a piano at the Admiral's Club or something. And then after the Navy, I wound up in DC in a rock band, playing a lot of Rolling Stones covers and stuff. Not very interesting piano music or keyboard music, but
it was fun, I'm sure.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And well, let's see, from there, I did a stint at a seafood restaurant where I played, they wanted 6-hour sets, 5 days a week of stride and ragtime.
Wow.
So I built up my muscles, and then I wore myself out all in one stretch. But that didn't last too long. I wound up playing hotels in DC. I played at the Willard Hotel for a long time, 3 or 4 years, weekly, and a couple of sing-along bars in Georgetown where people belted show tunes while I played, and did some accompanying. Played for a jazz singer for a while at Blues Alley and a couple of other venues in DC.
So this is amazing. So just to stop you right there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So you've played all these different styles of music, all these different settings. How old were you by the Blues Alley time?
That was probably 30, 29, 30, somewhere in there.
So you had already had this extensive career playing jazz, ragtime, rock, musical theater, gospel music, all this stuff.
And country. Don't forget country.
And country.
Texas.
That's right. Yeah.
Not too much of that, but that was kind of where I was at. And then I had another job in publishing as a journalist in DC, but in my 40s, I guess it was a midlife crisis. I decided I really wanted to see what I could do with piano. I'd always played and I'd done well with it, but I knew I'd never really done a deep dive. And so I went back to school in my 40s for my bachelor's in piano performance. And then following on that, I did a master's and a doctorate. I wound up teaching at the school that I did the graduate work at for about 12 years. And I'd also gotten into jazz at that point. Before that, most of what I had done was more like pseudo jazz. It was cocktail,
cabaret,
solo piano stuff.
Yeah.
But jazz had always been like a foreign language to me. I never really had a teacher to show me how to get into it. So While I was at my undergraduate school, they needed a piano player for the big band, the stage band, and they drafted me. So that was a deep lesson in learning to count, which a solo pianist is not always our strong suit.
Right.
And learning, reading charts, chord symbols, and learning how to improvise more, starting to dig into that. And I started really listening. I'd always listened to jazz and sort of thought, well, that's beautiful, but I don't understand what they're doing exactly. But that experience got me digging into it more, listening to some of the masters of the genre and really trying to learn from that. And so I wound up with a trio, jazz, piano, bass, and we worked around DC area for a long time. We did some big resort hotels, we did some clubs, Baltimore and whatnot, and then came along a funk band after that. It sort of morphed into that with some other players, and we did that until New Year's Eve of 2000 was our last gig. We played New Year's Eve of Y2K, and then the band broke up.
Oh wow. You got the Y2K bug, I guess, right?
I guess, well, it was a lot of drinking that night. Anyway, that kind of brought me to where I am. I've been in Asheville for 11 years now, and the big thing for me here has been, because this town has a phenomenal number of wonderful musicians, you being one of the best, and so for me the way to get into the scene here was networking. So I go to a lot of jazz jams.
Yeah.
They don't pay anything, but they're fun, and I meet the most amazing players, performers, and that's really opened some doors for me as far as playing here. I do wedding venues. I do pretty much wherever they'll have me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I teach. I teach at Warren Wilson College piano for undergrads. Most of them are students with little or limited piano experience that want to explore it or go farther with it. And
That's great.
that's a great gig too. I enjoy that.
Well, so I guess, for especially folks who are watching this who might be studying music in school or music education, and they're looking at building a career once they graduate from their piano studio and they're out in the real world working as a pianist.
Mm-hmm.
What are some pieces of advice you might give them from your many years of working as not only a performer, but an educator in various settings?
Well, I mean, some of the obvious things are be professional about it if you're going to be professional. Show up on time, show up prepared for the gig, dressed accordingly, present yourself. And beyond that, listen to different styles of music and learn from every one of them. All kinds of music have things to say. I kind of moved past the idea of, well, there's this genre, and this genre, and this genre, and putting everything in boxes. It's good music or it's not so good.
Yep.
In whatever genre you're working in. And so, you have to strive to be the best you can be. You have to have a little bit of business acumen, know what you're worth, and don't be afraid to ask for that when you are trying to book a gig. Don't undersell yourself, and don't oversell yourself. Don't expect that, the first time you hit middle C, you're going to wind up in Carnegie Hall. That doesn't happen to a lot of us, but it is really possible to have a good life, a fascinating life in music if you put in the work. Music has opened amazing doors for me. I have met incredible people, made lifelong friends, and I have, at this point, I have a treasure trove of memories of really good experiences in music, and that's hard to put a price on. So, but it's a real tangible, maybe intangible asset, but it's one that it means a lot.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Before we go, is there a place where people can check out your music or hear you perform, maybe online, or or is there a venue that you like to play at?
Well, I have a couple of things that you've put up on your site,
Oh yeah.
floating around there, and I did a few things during the pandemic. I was locked up with my piano, and so we put a few things up. Most of them are just floating around somewhere. I'm not sure where. I don't have a website as such. That's one of my 24 goals, is to get a little more professional on that end of things. Uh, I'm a pianist. I'm not a technician, and technology has always baffled me to an extent. So this is the year I try to tackle some of those issues.
Wonderful. Well, Bob, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. Have a great one, y'all.